Hi, welcome to today's On This Day in Tudor History. I'm Claire Ridgway, speaking to you from a very bright and sunny southern Spain. Hope it's bright and sunny where you are. It's rather hot here, which I'm not complaining about. We've had stacks of rain. So I'm taking you back, transporting you from present day Spain all the way back to the Tudor period with On This Day in Tudor History events for the whole of 2019. And we're sticking to King Henry VIII's reign today. It was a very, very busy reign. For On This Day in Tudor History, the 7th of May 1535, John Fisher, who was the former Bishop of Rochester, he received a visit by Thomas Cromwell, Master Secretary and also a member of the King's Council, and a man who was King Henry VIII's fixer, his right-hand man. And Fisher was at this time imprisoned in the Tower of London. So he received this visit from Thomas Cromwell. Thomas Cromwell set about reading out to Fisher the Act of Supremacy, and Fisher refused to acknowledge the terms of the Act. So everybody was supposed to sign an oath, take an oath, agreeing to the Act, doing their allegiance to the Act. And Fisher refused to acknowledge King Henry VIII as supreme head of the Church. He said, "The king, as sovereign lord, is not supreme head in earth of the Church of England." Now, it's alleged that Richard Rich, who was also a bit of a fixer in Henry VIII's council and government, tricked him into saying these words and blatantly saying, his opposition to the king's supremacy, telling him that the king wished to know his real opinion of this act in secret. But whatever the truth of the matter, in June 1535, Bishop Fisher was found guilty of treason and sentenced to death, all because he would not accept the king's supremacy and the terms of the Act of Supremacy. Now, Bishop Fisher had always opposed the Great Matter, which is the fancy name we have for King Henry VIII's desire to annul the marriage, his first marriage, to Catherine of Aragon, so that he could go on to marry Anne Boleyn. Going back to 1527, when Fisher had first been consulted about the king's problems, his matter of conscience, his concern that his marriage to Catherine of Aragon wasn't valid, Fisher had shared his belief that the Bible was actually ambiguous in the books of Deuteronomy and Leviticus on the matter of a man marrying his brother's widow. And he explained that he believed that the Pope did have the authority to dispense of this matter, to issue a dispensation to resolve this matter so that a man could marry his brother's widow, so that Henry VIII could marry Catherine of Aragon. And he was saying that, Henry's marriage was valid because the Pope had issued a dispensation. And Fisher became one of Catherine of Aragon's greatest supporters. He wrote treatises on the matter, and he made a speech, a very strong, compelling speech in her defence, in the defence of the marriage, at the Legatine Court, which was held at Blackfriars in 1529. He also spoke out again in 1533, which was the year of Anne Boleyn's coronation. And because of his views and his outspoken nature, he was actually put into the custody of Stephen Gardiner, Bishop of Winchester, until after Anne Boleyn's coronation, which took place at Westminster Abbey on the 1st of June 1533, just to shut him up and to stop kind of his trouble. Fisher was also one of those who gave credence to the visions and prophecies of Elizabeth Barton, the Holy Maid of Kent, or the Nun of Kent, who I actually mentioned a few days ago because it was the anniversary of her execution. She had prophesied against Henry VIII's annulment and his marriage to Anne Boleyn, saying that his kingdom, would fall if he married Anne Boleyn and set aside his first marriage. And Fisher was found guilty of misprision of treason in the case of Elizabeth Barton, and he was sentenced to have his goods and property confiscated and to be imprisoned. On the 26th of April 1534, he was imprisoned in the Tower of London after refusing to take the oath of succession. In December 1534, a very sad Fisher wrote to Thomas Cromwell. He was beseeching the king's right-hand man to provide him in his imprisonment in the Tower of London with a shirt and a sheet, neither of which he'd been given. He also asked for some food and some books to stir his devotion more effectually, and also a priest to hear his confession. Now, these were simple things, nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary, but he was begging for Cromwell to provide him with these. He also then went on to ask Cromwell to intercede with the king on his behalf and to move the king to release Fisher. None of it worked. He was kept in the Tower of London in what were awful conditions. He was denied a priest. He had to rely on friends and servants who visited him to bring him things, to bring him food even. So he was kept in awful conditions. Now, the Pope tried to save Bishop Fisher by making him a cardinal priest of San Vitale, a member of the College of Cardinals. So he tried to save him by making him a cardinal. But this didn't work. King Henry VIII wasn't bothered at all by this, and actually it did more to provoke King Henry. And the king actually had a joke at Fisher's expense and the Pope's expense. He joked that Fisher would have to wear the cardinal's hat on his shoulders because he would have no head on which to wear it. Just awful words. I can't quite understand King Henry VIII at times. Can we ever understand King Henry VIII? I'm not sure. Now, Fisher ended up being executed by beheading. At least there was that. He didn't have to be hanged, drawn and quartered. He was beheaded on Tower Hill on the 22nd of June 1535. Fast forward quite a few years, and in 1935 he was canonised by the Pope, and so is now known as Saint John Fisher and recognised as a martyr for his faith. His feast day is the anniversary of his execution, so the 22nd of June. So he is remembered for standing up to King Henry VIII and standing up for Queen Catherine of Aragon and being one of her greatest supporters. What an interesting man. So that was on this day in Tudor history, the 7th of May 1535. John Fisher received a visit from Thomas Cromwell, which, didn't help him in any way. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow with another Tudor history event. You can subscribe to this channel by just clicking there, and you can hit the bell to be notified as videos go live as well. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.